Name, rank, serial number. Even if you've never been in the military, you know that's all you're supposed to say in enemy hands. It's all the Geneva Conventions require you to say. Name, rank, serial number. And sometimes in the Korean War, for example, American prisoners of war were subjected to interrogations that were not just designed to get information out of them, they were designed to get propaganda. They were techniques designed to elicit false confessions, to get Americans to say they had done all sorts of horrible things and now they had seen the light and they were siding with the people who were holding them prisoner. John McCain famously was subjected to those techniques for those purposes when he was held prisoner in Vietnam. To fight back, the U.S. military designed a program called SERE, Survival, Evasion, Resistance, Escape, SERE. American troops would be subjected under controlled conditions to the things that might be done to them by a foreign enemy, to get false confessions to use for propaganda. So those techniques, if they were captured and these things were done to them, those techniques wouldn't be a surprise. They'd have some hope of putting up some resistance. Today's declassified congressional report confirms in detail that even before we had captured any high-value al-Qaeda suspects after 9/11, geniuses at the upper echelons of the Bush administration decided that they would use SERE techniques to develop a new American interrogation program. From the report, quote, senior officials approved the use of interrogation techniques that were originally designed to simulate abusive tactics used by our enemies against our own soldiers and that were modeled in part on tactics used by the communist Chinese to elicit false confessions from U.S. military personnel. In other words, the Bush administration developed an interrogation program from the techniques that were used on American prisoners of war to get false confessions out of them. What could possibly go wrong? Joining us now is Colonel Stephen Kleinman, former military interrogator. He's testified on this subject before Congress numerous times. Colonel Kleinman, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much for having me.
Can you give us a sense of what the SERE program is and what it's for?
Yes, the SERE program is a very, very noble program. It's designed and run by some of the most incredible patriots you'd ever want to encounter. But it's designed for one purpose, and that is to help our personnel, our military personnel who should find themselves in harm's way, allow them to return with honor by preparing them, introducing them to the worst possible scenarios, including what was once known as the communist interrogation model. Something that we learned from the Chinese in the Korean War, from the Soviets back in the show trials.
How did you learn that SERE school techniques were being sort of reverse engineered to be used as interrogation methods by American personnel?
My first exposure to that was actually during my deployment to Iraq in 2003. The organization that sent me to Iraq, apparently there was a misconnect between us, but I thought I was going out there as an interrogator because I had a lot of experience prior to that. But I was representing an organization that did this sort of training, and the idea was that we were going to introduce SERE strategies and methodologies into the repertoire of the interrogators.
Why would SERE methods be used in an interrogation if they were known to have been designed to elicit false confessions?
See, that's where the misunderstanding lies. At the very senior levels of government, surprisingly, the understanding of the complexities of interrogation is rare. It really is. It's probably shaped more by the television show 24 than practitioners of the art. There's a lot of people who don't understand the difference between a model that would train people to resist harsh interrogation, and the purpose of that was to compel people to produce propaganda, and intelligence interrogation, which is designed to elicit cooperation, therefore timely, accurate, and comprehensive intelligence. They're very similar. They appear almost similar on the surface, but there's very, very profound differences, and those two cannot be crossed.
I know that defenders of the Bush administration's interrogation program, and we now have a lot of evidence that it was a program, they say that these harsh techniques, these extreme techniques, were only used in extremely controlled circumstances on a very small number of people by only very highly trained, skilled personnel, that it was an elite practice, in essence. Does that accord with what you saw in Iraq and how you know these techniques were used?
Not at all. First of all, it is not an elite practice. Enhanced interrogation technique, that term would connote an elite program, an advanced program, one conducted by sophisticated practitioners, and nothing can be further from the truth. The best interrogators in this country understand how to interrogate, and that's largely a relationship-based, culturally elite, finessed approach. It's systematic and it's patient, And that's what produces information. To use sheer methods, or to think that one can use physicality or heavy stress to obtain useful, reliable information is just a misnomer. It's not backed up by operational experience, and it is not backed up by one shred of scientific evidence.
Colonel Stephen Kleinman, former military intelligence officer, thank you for your service, sir, and thanks for taking time to talk to us about this tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for your service as well.
Well, it's a much less risky kind, but thank you.